Hey friends, it is Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the new Death Watch kill team that we just got rules for. Maybe a little late to the party. I know everybody's been talking about that last week, but I did want to give my thoughts on the Decimus kill team. This is the new kill team that came out in the Tomb World box. We don't have an independent release for it yet, a separate release, but the models were available in the Tomb World kill team box. A lot of Death Watch players are excited about this. So a lot of Death Watch players were nervous about this. So let's talk about it and see what actually happened here. So first of all, the models themselves. I'm going to be talking about the competitive viability of this Decimus kill team unit in proper 40K. The models are super cool for sure. I built the kit, haven't had a chance to get them painted yet. I'll get some paint on them before I get them on the channel here. I'm going to play them at least a couple times on the channel just so we can see how they perform. But the models are super cool. They have a lot of flavor. They have dynamic posing. They feel a little bigger, chunkier just than the regular ones, a little extra detail. The nice thing about the kit comes with the exact number of Death Watch shoulder pads. However, they come with lots of extra different chapter-specific ones for whatever chapter these guys are drawn from. And some very obscure ones too, which is super cool. So you'll be able to use, if you get the kit, you'll be able to have extra bits, of course, because each sprue comes with the option of building each of these guys two ways. It's essentially a 5-man sprue, and you get 2 of them, and you can build each of those guys multiple ways. And the Gravis guys, you can actually build 3 different ways. So the kit comes with lots of extra bits, and you might be able to find a few ways to build extra versions of these guys with whatever extra models you have laying around. I mentioned before that when I built the kit, I had an extra heavy intercessor because I'm a Death Watch player and we never use exact numbers of models from kits. So I had an extra heavy intercessor body. So the Gravis guys come with 3 different builds. It comes with 2 Gravis models, but 3 different ways to build it. So I was able to build the 3rd way just so I can swap them out. So I have the frag cannon, the Infernus heavy bolter, and the Death Watch bolt rifle with a grenade launcher, all 3 of those guys built. So you get lots of bits in the kit, and you get lots of extra shoulder pads. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. Also, of course, you can add a lot of bits to these things because your Death Watch are coming from different chapters. If you have extra Blood Angel or Space Wolf bits or whatever it may be, you can add them on and actually plus them up quite a bit. They're big, bold models. They feel a little bit bigger than even just the regular intercessor bodies. There's lots of room on here for you to add stuff to them. Again, dynamic posing, super cool models, great detail work on them. The kill team kits are always amazing. We know that. So I think A+ for the models. They're fantastic. Now, so when I go in and discuss the competitive viability, if you love the models and want to play them because you love them, please do. That's what you should do. I suggest you do that thing. But as far as the actual use in game, the thing I'm concerned about is them replacing the Death Watch veterans. So we have the Death Watch veterans now. We've had, as long as Death Watch has been around as a standalone army, we've had the Death Watch veteran kit. It is an older kit as far as current 40K kits go. The newer models do look better than they do. They do have a lot of fun details and bits and a lot of options for building them. Now, as of right now, both data sheets are up for the Death Watch veterans and the Decimus kill team. It concerns me still because the special rule for these 2 units is the same. Reroll 1s to hit all the time. And if you're fighting a non-Imperial, non-Chaos army, so Xenos basically, then you get full rerolls to hit with this unit. Both units have the same special rule. That concerns me as far as it replacing them. And the fact is that we haven't had the standalone release of just the Death Watch Decimus kill team on its own, not outside the Tomb World box. I am concerned that when they release that standalone, that they may drop the Death Watch veterans. Here's hoping that they don't. The good news is the unit is better than I feared it would be. I was really concerned that with the limited weapon loadouts and inability to stack a bunch of weapons in there, is going to be of concern. But they did actually make a lot of the weapons in the Decimus kill team a little bit stronger. So still worried about them replacing the Death Watch vets. The reason is because Death Watch vets have more variety of ways to load them out. The way I run them with my Judicar right now, I have a Judicar with Beacon Angelus. I go all combat except for 1 frag cannon. That means 4 heavy thunder hammers, 4 guys with storm shields. 3 of them have power swords. 1 of them has a Xenophase blade, and 1 guy with a black shield, twin link blades. Super strong in combat, especially buffing the character to give them reroll 1s to hit, making them super efficient. 4 heavy thunder hammers just slap really hard. They can smack things so hard, guys. They are really strong. They, of course, hit on 4, so they can whiff sometimes. You can just miss. I've definitely had bad rolls with them before, but still, on average, especially if you get full rerolls or if you're going into an oath target, full rerolls from Xenos or going into an oath target, they can hit so hard. Strength 10, AP 2, flat 3 damage with dev wounds, just gets work done a lot of times. So you can also kit them out with shooting. In a 10-man, you can take 2 frag cannons and 2 Infernus heavy bolters, a variety of other guns, combi bolters, shotguns. I've heard some people really like the shotguns. I've never really messed around with them. They're only strength 4 and AP 0, but they are 2 damage, which makes them a little bit better than bolters in that sense. And of course, they all benefit from the Deathwatch shooting strats really well. So the Deathwatch veterans, in my opinion, just get you much more flexibility in whether you want to stack into a primarily combat, a primarily shooting, or a mixed unit. The Decimus kill team, this new kill team, you really don't have any choice as to how many close combat versus shooting unit models you have in it. It's pretty well fixed. There's only 1 model per 5-man that you can kind of pivot between those, and it is the weakest model. It's your Phobos armored guy. The good news is that the base attacks and base shooting and base combat attack profiles are a little bit better. So let's start with the shooting first of all. Now, for every 5 men in the team, so a 5-man or a 10-man, you can have, for every 5 guys, you can have 1 Gravis Armor Marine, and the Gravis Armor Marine gives you your heavy weapon. You have the Infernus heavy bolter, you have the Deathwatch frag cannon, and then you have the Deathwatch bolt rifle with the grenade launcher. The Deathwatch bolter with a grenade launcher, I think, is the least interesting for 40K. Just because of the buffs to both the frag cannon and the heavy bolter, I'm gonna take one of those. So the Deathwatch Infernus bolter, and there is some concern because there is 1 stat line in the app and a different stat line in the data sheet. So I think the data sheet is correct. So I think the app is going to be corrected here at some point. But the Infernus heavy bolter is either a heavy bolter or a heavy flamer. Heavy flamer is a standard heavy flamer profile, but the heavy bolter basically gives you the heavy bolter from the Indomitor kill team. It's 3 shots, hits on 3s instead of 4s, so that's better than the Deathwatch vets. It is strength 5. It is AP 2 rather than AP 1, and it's flat 3 damage. It has sustained. It does not have lethal. The one in the Indomitor kill team has lethal, so that's the only where it places a little bit less than the Indomitor kill team. But that Infernus heavy bolter is strength 5 AP 2, flat 3 damage with sustained and hits on 3s rather than 4s, but it's still heavy. So if you stand still, you're going to be hitting on 2s. So a really juicy heavy bolter. In this meta, 3 damage stuff is so strong because of the number of 3 wound unit models and because of the amount of damage reduction. Having something that's 3 damage is super strong. Not having the lethal hits holds it back a little bit because it's only strength 5. Where in the Indomitor, shooting the nearest eligible target will be strength 7, so it really has the ability to punch up quite a bit. But in here, it's still a pretty good option for doing some work into some more elite infantry. The other heavy weapon is the frag cannon. I love the frag cannons because they're D3, rapid fire D3 if you're within 9 inches, and they have blast. So sometimes you just get to pop them off into a 20-man unit and get a ton of hits. So the Deathwatch frag cannon in the Decimus kill team has got 3 buffs over the frag cannon in the standard Deathwatch vets. Number 1, it has lethal hits baked into it. Number 2, it hits on 3s rather than 4s. Still heavy, so if you stand still, it hits on 2s. And the third one is to get extra AP. It's AP 2 rather than AP 1 in the Deathwatch vets. So it is blast, meaning that if you're within 9 inches, you get 2 D3 shots plus blast. So that's an average of 6 shots if it's a 10-man unit. It's an average of 8 shots if it's a 20-man unit. Meaning with 2 of these guys in the squad, you can suddenly get a ton of shots. And because they're always re-rolling ones, they kind of have that extra little bit of efficiency. So that's really a big plus on the unit, and that the re-rolling ones means they don't need Oath of Moment quite as much. That gives them the ability to function independently. So those 2 weapons, I think I would probably always take the frag cannons, take 2 of those, just because I want that blast. And they're probably, because of their close combat profile, they're probably going to be getting close to things. If you take them with, say, a Watchmaster, then they can fall back from combat and shoot, which means they'll be within 9 inches. And just getting the full benefits from those blast rapid fire D3 shots is going to make you feel good. The Infernus Heavy Bolters are not bad. They are good at 3 damage heavy bolters. But I just like the volume of shots from frag cannons. So those are plussed up from what we see in the Deathwatch veterans. Problem is, you can only take a total of 2 of them in a 10-man, where you could take 2 of each in a 10-man of Deathwatch vets. So what's the trade-off? Which one's better? I don't know, guys. It's hard to tell. The math is kind of tricky. I know on Auspex Tactics, they did a video where he did a bunch of math on shooting and fighting and comparing the 2 units. They're fairly even if you have an even loadout. It didn't really take into consideration running 4 Thunderhammers on the Deathwatch vets. Kind of did like 2 or 1 for every 5 guys. But the buff to the shooting is strong. You can also take, in a 10-man, you can take 2 ranged specialist Marines. These are guys, intercessors, that either have the Stalker bolt rifle or Hellblaster plasma incinerator. Gives you a little more shooting to go on top of that. The Hellblaster does standard Hellblaster plasma incinerator things. It's strength 7, strength 8 overcharged, AP2, AP3 overcharged, 1 damage, 2 damage overcharged, but it's hazardous, so you could lose a guy. The Stalker bolt rifle is pretty decent. It is 2 shots, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage, got lethal hits, got precision, got heavy. So not as high strength as the plasma, but you're not going to blow yourself up just to try to get a 2 damage wound through. And it's got precision, which is interesting, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Other than that, we also have a Phobos guy, 1 Phobos guy for every 5 men. He either has the Deathwatch bolt carbine, the Marksman bolt carbine, which is just 2 shots, strength 5, AP1, 1 damage with lethal. Not super impressive, just 1 damage shots. It's better than a regular bolter, but it's only 2 shots. You can ultimately, instead of taking that, you can take basically a Reaver body, so you get a 1 bolt pistol shot that's precision, or 4 close combat, strength 4, AP1, 1 damage attacks in close combat that also have precision. That's definitely the weakest model in the unit. And then you have the Sergeant or Xenophase Blade guy. So if you take a 5-man, you can take a Sergeant. If you take a 10-man, you take a Sergeant and a guy with a Xenophase Blade. The Sergeant, his power sword is a pretty good power sword. Hilariously, it's actually better than the power swords that the Blade Guard veterans have. It's 4 attacks, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage, but it also has sustain. So that one extra little thing there, sustain built into it, gives that a little bit of plus over a Blade Guard veteran. So that's actually pretty decent, at least for dealing with Marine equivalents, T4, T5 stuff. Obviously, it's going to have trouble punching up into more durable targets, especially when we get into the T10 stuff. But it is a pretty good just base profile, because in the Deathwatch veterans, your power swords are all 1 damage. So it's a 3 attack, strength 5, AP2, 1 damage. Well, this one is 2 damage, which is a big plus up. Then you can have 1 Sergeant with 1 of those, and then you can have, if you have a 10-man, you can add a guy with a Xenophase Blade. The Xenophase Blade is just a 4 attack power sword that's 1 damage, but has dev wounds. So a decent weapon to have added in there. And then you can take 1 close combat Marine for every 5. The close combat Marine either has a heavy Thunderhammer, love the heavy Thunderhammers, or he has a Storm Shield, so the 4-up embalm, and a power weapon, the same as the Sergeant. So another 4 attacks, hits on 3s, strength 5, AP2, 2 damage with sustained. Is that one with sustained? No, no. Before, let me check. Yeah, it's all just the power weapon. So you have to choose between the heavy Thunderhammer and the power weapon. Because the power weapon is 2 damage and has 4 attacks and sustained and hits on 3s, it's going to give you more consistent damage output, probably into basic infantry. where the Thunderhammer hits on 4s still. Obviously, it's big, so it punches up with strength 10, AP2, flat 3 damage, dev wounds. But if you're probably not using this unit trying to punch up too much, because the most you can take is Thunderhammers. So I think the ideal loadout for this squad is probably actually taking the Storm Shields with the power weapons. So you get more efficiency into essentially Marine equivalents, 2 wound infantry, that sort of thing. That's why I think it can't tech into either all fighting or all shooting. Like I said, the only thing you can flip back and forth between on is the Phobos guy. He can either have his 2 shots with 1 damage with his marksman carbine, or get the 4 attacks with his close combat. That's the only one he can pivot back and forth between close combat and shooting. But a lot of these individual weapons have buffs and pluses beyond what they have in the basic Deathwatch veterans. The power weapons being all 2 damage, the frag cannon, the Infernus heavy bolter getting their bunch of extra buffs on them. It means that into a lot of targets, that's probably going to be the same as Deathwatch vets, to be honest. It's not going to be able to punch up as much, and it's not going to be able to tech as well into one shooting or fighting or the other. Like I said, right now I'm running an all-fighting Judicar-led squad. I would much rather have that than this, because I just can't take as many good combat weapons in this. But because it does do both fairly well, this squad could easily go out and shoot down a 5-man squad of Marine equivalents and then charge and kill another 5-man squad in combat without Oath, because it's always going to reroll 1s to hit. And if it's fighting Xenos, then it's going to get full hit rerolls. So, 2 frag cannons with 2 plasma incinerators and a few pistols in there should kill a 5-man squad of something. And then the combat from a bunch of power swords, the power weapons, the 2 damage power weapons, and some extra close combat, and should be able to pick up a 5-man squad there. So you can go and shoot a squad of scouts away, charge a squad of jump intercessors, and finish them off. It gives you that kind of efficiency. If you're playing against an army that has debuff stratagems or defensive stratagems, say you're playing against a Marine unit and you're going after a 10-man unit, the fact that you're multi-phasing them, shooting them, and fighting them with unit means they can all, if they want to use Armor of Contempt in the shooting phase and the fighting phase, it's going to cost them 2 CP, rather than if you were only attacking them one of those phases, where they could just throw the Armor of Contempt on one of those phases. So it has some interesting advantages, I think, over the Deathwatch vets. I still greatly prefer the Deathwatch vets because your ability to tech into a specific task with them. Also, the Deathwatch vets are 10 points cheaper on a 10-man. Also, the Deathwatch vets can go in a Rhino. Make Rhinos great again, please, GW. Heretic Astartes, they can all take Rhinos and put all sorts of cool stuff in them, but they're taking the Rhinos away from the Imperial Marines, which makes me sad. But as far as the loadouts and everything, so the way I see, if you want to use this unit in 40K proper, I think there's a couple ways you can use it. Like I said, multi-phasing, the fact that you can either go out and kill 2 different 5-man units or 1 10-man unit, gives you kind of an extra efficiency. Where with the Deathwatch vets, if I tech them all into combat, they're probably just going to go kill 1 thing. Even if it's just a small unit of 5, a cheap little skirmish unit, it'll wreck that unit easily, but it won't get that efficiency being able to shoot down 1 unit and take down another in combat, which the Decimus kill team has. That's pretty cool. It also is going to be, like I said, multi-phase damage, which can be a double-edged sword there, in the sense that sometimes you don't want to shoot something you're going to try to charge into, because your opponent can pull the models that are closest and make your charge tougher. But being able to do damage in multiple phases sometimes is better, like I said, because your opponent, if they're trying to protect that, they're going to have to use defensive strats in 2 different phases. Which just cost them more, or it's not worth it, or because it doesn't shoot that much or fight that much, they're not going to even use the strats at all. Now, another little thing I think might be interesting with this is to use this unit as a squad to assassinate enemy characters. So a lot of times I run the Judicar with my Deathwatch vets or a Watchmaster. Now, the Judicar has precision. And we know that there's a universal strat that people can use to have a character, give them precision to another character. So I could do that with a Watchmaster. But usually I don't do that, because let's just say the Judicar, for example, he's got 5 attacks, at strength 7. So he's probably going to be wounding characters on 3s. And most characters have some kind of 4-up invuln. And most of them have more than 4 wounds. A lot of them are only 4 wounds, but most of them have like 5 or 6 wounds. So the odds that a Judicar by himself will be able to precision out a character from a unit is kind of slim. However, in the Decimus kill team, you can build some precision into it. You can put 2 Stalker bolt rifles in there, which are 2 damage precision. They're strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage with precision, and 2 shots apiece. So that's 4 shots going in there. Plus, you can take the Phobos guy and you give 2 of them the Reaver blades, the combat blades. So that's 4 attacks apiece. It's only strength 4, AP 1, 1 damage, but have precision. Plus, they throw a couple precision shots in there. And then you can either, the Judicar can precision, or you can spend the CP on a captain, or the Watchmaster precision them. And with all that stuff combined, obviously assuming that you can see the character, 4 2-damage precision shots with the Stalker bolt rifles. 1 of those should go through and do a couple points of damage. A couple precision pistols from the Phobos guys, maybe they don't do anything. 8 1-damage precision attacks from the Phobos guys in combat. So maybe they chip a couple wounds off, 2, maybe 3 wounds off there. And then finally, the Judicar, or the character that you give the precision strat to, then they should be able to finish off that character. I think that's an interesting thing you may want, you may be able to do with this unit, because it's got just a bunch of natural precision built into it. Something to consider. It's something that you don't really see in a lot. Is a lot of precision built into the units that we have access to. Of course, the Death Watch have their 6s to hit or precision mission tactic, but that's really inconsistent because it needs 6s to hit. Of course, you can pair that with the whole unit shooting and fighting, and so you can really go for that assassination ability, because you have the built-in stuff that has precision anyways, and then any 6s to hit are also precision. All that stuff stacked together means you should pretty efficiently be able to kill even medium, like Terminator-based characters, just with the sheer volume of precision attacks you're putting into them. So something to keep in mind if it's something you're looking to do, is play with this Decimus kill team. And then finally, the last competitive 40K thing I want to say is that on this channel, I've gotten multiple comments over the last year, people asking about Death Watch in 1,000-point games. Death Watch typically don't scale well into 1,000-point games because a lot of our kill teams are just bigger and more expensive. 250 for an Indomitor, 275 for Talon Strike. That was after the points were doing decrease. Before then, it was even more difficult to squeeze them in there. By the time you add a character on, you're talking about 300-400 point units that in a 1,000-point game just aren't very efficient, because sometimes it doesn't take much to tie them up or shut them down. Now, the Decimus kill team, because it kind of splits its damage output between shooting and fighting, that actually is an interesting profile, because first of all, it's 200 points, so it's much cheaper than an Indomitor or a Talon Strike. Again, the individual attack profiles are real good. So if you're going into a 1,000-point game and you run into an MSU army, as I said, Decimus can very easily shoot 1 small unit down and fight another small unit in combat and finish them both off without even needing Oath, because they're always rerolling 1s to hit. Or if your opponent in a 1,000-point game has a larger 10-man unit or something, then you can certainly shoot and fight into it with a Decimus, still getting that efficiency out of it. Meaning, because it kind of does those multiple jobs, neither one's super outstanding, but both of them kind of medium well, it probably is a pretty good choice for smaller scale games. So might be something for those who have asked me in the past about 1,000-point games. The Decimus might be something neat to try in there, because I think you will get extra efficiency out. Again, doing damage in 2 different phases means you can split and pick up 2 MSU units, or put it all into 1 big, stronger unit. I think that efficiency is something you want from the Decimus. Then, of course, you can take this kill team in agents, Imperial agents. They call it something else. I think they call it the Aquila kill team. For some reason, they nerfed a bunch of the rules, which is just super dumb. I don't think this is a good choice in Imperial agents, because everything in Imperial agents is a mid-level of damage output. You need the Death Watch Venets with their heavy thunder hammers is like the only thing you can take in that army that punches up, that punches hard. You definitely want that as much as you can get. So I actually think in Imperial agents, and this in the app, some of the strats or some of the statistics on the weapons and things are not as good for some reason. I don't know why. GW insists on intentionally just making Imperial Agents as bad as possible. I think in Imperial Agents, this is a less interesting unit because of the few data sheet changes where they didn't give them the frag cannon buffs and things. I don't know. But again, Imperial Agents doesn't need mid-range stuff to take out MSU units or take out small units or take out basic. It needs to be able to punch up into hard targets, and that's not something this gets. So I don't think it's very interesting in Imperial Agents. But again, a couple other things we talked about. 1,000-point game's interesting. Using it as an assassination tool, especially with a Judicar or character attached to it, interesting. And so my final thoughts on this is that I really hope GW does not drop the Death Watch Vets. As I said, because we haven't seen the actual independent release of this box, they may still just, when that individual box for the Decimus comes out, they may just decide to drop the Death Watch Vets. We don't know because GW, for some reason, doesn't tell us ever what they're going to do. It's all just surprises, and sometimes the surprises feel bad. But ultimately, this unit does not feel like it should replace the Death Watch Vets. This feels like it replaces the Cassius Kill Team because it is a variety of armor marks and a variety of weapons, and you don't get as many choices as what you take where. And because there's so many different bespoke models in it, I feel like it's a better replacement for Cassius Kill Team. So I think both, I obviously want both of these things to still exist, the Decimus and the Death Watch Vets, because this just feels like something a little bit different from the Vets. So hopefully we get to keep them both. Fingers crossed. We will probably find out for sure whenever the independent release for the Decimus Kill Team comes out. But that's it. Overall, it's better than I thought it would be, but I still would rather run Death Watch Vets in competitive play. But I'm very interested to see how you guys plan to use them. So give me some comments here. Tell me what you're planning to do with them, how you plan to use them. Hopefully I gave you some good ideas. That's it for today. Yeah, they'll be on the channel here soon. We'll run them a couple times at least just to give them a workout, let them stretch their legs a little bit. But yeah, stay tuned for that. All right, guys, have a good one.